Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very exciting Norwegian Cruise Line webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. This webinar will run about 25 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Derek Lloyd. Derek has been in the cruise industry since 1995 and has held various roles for multiple cruise lines over the years. First starting with Norwegian in 2001 as Business Development Manager for Western Canada, Derek rejoined in 2006 as National and Key Account Manager, where he was eventually appointed Director of Business Development for the Canadian and Northeast U.S. markets, which allowed him the opportunity to oversee all sales and business development functions in the region, including contract negotiations, tour operator and consortia account management, and customer relationship development. He is now Senior Director of Field Sales for the North American market with responsibility to oversee the entire field and inside sales organization. And with that, take it away, Derek.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. I hope everybody is doing well today. Keeping well, I was going to say keeping warm if you're in the case of myself, where I'm in Toronto, and winter is definitely on the horizon, unfortunately. But it's great, you know, when we're talking about cold weather, to look at a photo like this and dream about the day when we're going to be cruising once again. So I certainly am looking forward to spending a little bit of time on a beach. So I wanted to talk to you today about a number of different things. As Anna mentioned, I expect the presentation will run about 25 minutes or so. We will absolutely have time for questions at the end. No, I will not be able to give away any secrets or anything that you probably haven't heard already. We are tirelessly working with all of the people involved in getting cruising relaunched in North America, and hopefully we'll have news to share in the near future. But I wanted to sort of go through, you know, we need to go through a little bit of some back to basics in terms of dealing with consumers. And I also want to talk to you about some of the deployment, because one of the great things that you know, we count on you as our travel distribution channel for is talking to your customers, getting them excited about traveling, and quite frankly, looking further out. We're counting on you to start looking at what do we have going in, you know, later 21, 22, and now even in 2023. And so I'm going to talk to you about some of the deployment options that we have. So first off, in terms of adapting to today's consumer, you know, one of the things when you're in any business, quite frankly, is that we do need to keep up to the changing expectations and demands of the consumer. And obviously with 2020 being a rather unique year, to put it mildly, we need to make sure that we're on top of how we are speaking to our customers, because the expectations are absolutely changing. So for one thing that we need to understand is that there's been some changing behaviors and changing focus on behalf of consumers. So North Americans, for the most part, they're becoming more mindful about how they spend their money. And we do a number of different studies out there, and we take a look at what people's concerns are. And obviously finances are on people's minds. And so more than anything, they're looking for great value. And of course, value and price are two different things. And one thing that I always warn people about is understand that those are two different things. Price and value are not the same. And consumers want to hear about value. And if we talk about price, and if we make the decision based solely on price, we lose a lot of loyalty. And so that's where you really step in, is you guys are the value interpreters for the customer's vacation. So when we're looking at some of the studies that are out there, we're looking at over 50% of consumers who have tried a new brand. So in other words, somebody who's never cruised with, say, Norwegian before. Value is absolutely the driver. So again, I would go back to talking about things like free at sea. That is something that we have developed over the last 5 or 6 years to really try to emphasize what you get versus what you pay. And that is something that when we're talking about any of our conversations with consumers, that I'd really recommend that you focus on. Consumers are looking for companies that are more purpose-driven. Of course, and I think this is probably the case with all of us, we've been doing more and more shopping online, and that trend will continue. We are not expecting that that's going to go away. And so one of the things that you need to, as always, is make sure you are where your consumers are. And so if they're online, if they're dreaming about vacations online, you've got to make sure that you're there too. And so with the relative ease of getting into social media, that's how you can really make sure that you are front and center with your consumer. The consumers, all of them, I know I'm suffering from the COVID-15, all of them are adopting healthier habits. And so what we find is that when people are looking and researching, they're looking for ways to stay active and stay healthy when they're on vacation. So think about that when you're talking about messaging towards that consumer. What messages are you putting forward? Is it just about food? And of course, food is a big driver when we're talking vacations, but are we also focusing on some of the active options that are available for cruising? And I think everybody has seen that new modes of vacation are rising in popularity. Things like RVs, cabins, domestic cabins, rural towns, things that people can drive to for now. That will not necessarily go away at the drop of a hat. And one of the things that we're seeing a lot of successful travel partners and travel consultants adapt to is they're seeing themselves as not just a vacation consultant, but more of a leisure time consultant. And so they're broadening the products that they can talk to their customers about, and that's a good thing. And so we need to make sure that you're in that space. And so obviously, a rural cabin is not necessarily the ideal for a lot of people in the middle of February. I think that this picture of the beach here is maybe something that would be more of interest, but to be able to talk to your customers about all of their options is great. There more than ever, people are looking at streaming platforms. So when we're looking at our advertising, when you see, and we're going to be doing a campaign with Norwegian for TV, we're looking at streaming options as well, because cable TV and the standard 30-second spot in between sitcoms has been reducing for years and will probably continue to do so. And of course, the changes in the consumer behavior may have had an impact on the overall customer journey. And that's what we absolutely look at, the journey from beginning to end. From the very first days of even thinking about going vacation, to planning, to booking, to actually going, returning, sharing, etc. That's what we're looking at for the consumer journey. And part of that we're seeing is there's an overall lengthening of that booking curve. So I mentioned earlier that 2022, etc. People are absolutely looking at what are they doing, not next year, but the year after. And not that they're not doing stuff next year, but people are thinking about these things further out, and you need to be in front of them when, of course, they're doing that initial planning. Now, in terms of how to react, one of the things that we're really recommending right now is, while certainly we need to talk about the promos and the deals because those are related to value, really what we're doing and what we're recommending that you do is focus on the relationships, focus on the connections that you have, especially on social media. You're going to be wanting to keep it personal, you're going to want to be keeping it relatable. And because the consumer behavior is shifting, you need to highlight, when we're talking about cruising, you need to highlight the aspects that particularly appeal to them. So talk more about the experiences, the benefits, not just the features. So things like, for any of you who have been on a Norwegian cruise and, you were on, say, the Bliss or the Encore, or the Joy, and you had a great afternoon at the racetrack, talking about that experience, what you remember about it, as opposed to just, oh, there's a great deal out there right now. I think we're all seeing it on Instagram, on Facebook, on any of the social media platforms, the idea of, throwback memories. And I've seen some really, really great creative ones. They're very low key. They're not a heavy sales pitch, but it's really, dreaming about Italy. And oh, this was a trip that I did 2 years ago, and we had a wonderful time in Naples exploring, the ruins of Pompeii as an example. We want to keep people dreaming about vacations. We want to keep people dreaming. We know that the current reality is tough, but everybody understands that things will change. Things are going to get better. We're going to be able to get back out there and see the world again. And you need to give people inspiration. And that's part of what you need to, what your role is to inspire people, not just sell to them, but inspire them for travel. So again, talk about those experiences, but also we can't ignore the current reality. And so, we're looking at a few different things in terms of our advertising. How do we adapt the freestyle, break free, feel free approach? And one of the, we're all on these Zoom calls, we're all doing these things remotely, and so talk to people along those lines. Talk to them about, trading their sweatpants for bathing suits. And of course, we all have to be nimble. Things have been last year have been changing so rapidly. We need to, part of your planning needs to be able to adapt to the changing marketplace. And so when the opportunity is there, you're ready to take advantage of it. So again, as I talked about, make it very, very, very much customer centric. You're not there to simply push the business. They're looking for simple benefit. The customers are looking for simple benefits that talk about your value as well. It's not just about the value of the vacation, but your value. What is it that you're bringing to them? What's the expertise? What's the experience? What's the knowledge that you are bringing to the table? How do you deliver that for your customers? Talk about the experiential return on investment. So again, it's not just, oh, here's a great cruise, here's a cruise for $9.99. Rather, here's a great experience, and here are all of the great things that you can do and see and enjoy, not lead with a price. And again, I would go back to the whole concept of free at sea with Norwegian. With free at sea, when we're talking about the inclusions, it's not just about quite frankly, it's not at all about the money. It's about the ease. It's about the fact that with the free at sea, where you've got the drinks package, the fact that, you don't have to think about, do I want to have that other glass of wine, or do I want to have that after dinner cocktail, and thinking about, well, do I want to spend that? Well, it makes it that much easier. It makes the vacation experience better. It's not about the dollar bill at the end of it. And of course, move away from the mentality that the only relationship you have with your clients is around the purchase and transaction. I mentioned before, the idea is you being the curator of their leisure time. And if you can position yourselves as that you're not just there to make a sale, that you're really there to help them and advise them, you're going to deepen the relationship that you have with them. And right now, people are not traveling like we were, and so use this downtime to create those connections. In terms of things that we're recommending that you look at doing, I mean, I just went and checked the mail. How many of us, when we check the mail, sort of divide the stack into two? You've got all of the, actually probably three, all of the stuff that's very obvious junk mail, you put, in my case, straight into the garbage. You then put all the other stuff that's addressed to you in another, with a printed, with a computer printed envelope. You put that in a pile, and then anything that's handwritten, don't we all open that first? So imagine if you were to do on a daily basis 10 handwritten notes to your best clients, just to say, you know what, I'm thinking about you. I remember that you had this great vacation. Really looking forward to 2021, and I want to let you know that I'm here whenever you're ready to talk about what your next adventure is going to be. Your clients will open that immediately, and they remember that. And those are the touch points that we need to look at those personalized things. And of course, we've got agents out there, travel consultants out there that are doing great jobs with using Zoom and doing little, fun little events where our sales team is almost every single night doing a virtual consumer event, low key, not heavily focused on price or making a sale, but rather driving destination dreams. Now, talking about destination dreams, I want to run through some of the new deployment that we've announced recently. So first off, just about a month ago, September 23rd, actually, we announced a great number of our 2022 and 2023 deployments. So it's the majority of sailings all the way from October 2022 through to the spring of 23. We've got we even announced the Pride of America, which is of course our ship that sails in the Hawaiian Islands, all the way through to 2024. And just as we are this year, we're sailing to all 7 continents. So in terms of the highlights, just to sort of quickly run through them for you, as I mentioned, Pride of Hawaii, she's the most consistent ship in our fleet. 7 days in and out of Honolulu, the absolute best way, no question about it, of seeing the Hawaiian Islands. I think I've done that itinerary maybe 2 or 3 times now. I would absolutely go back and do that because it allows you to touch every single one of the major islands out there and spend a lot of time. It's essentially, it's a floating hotel. Almost every daylight hour, you're in a port. The Bliss is going to be doing a combination of Panama Canal, Miami, largest ship between her and the Norwegian Joy on the Mexican Riviera. Breakaway continues out of New Orleans, which if you've never done a cruise out of New Orleans, this is such a neat way to do the Caribbean because of course you're cruising right out of the city. Now the city itself is fantastic, and if you don't talk to your clients about a pre or post option there, you're really missing an opportunity. But to be able to sail out of the city itself and then down the Mississippi is a really, really unique experience because you're on the Mississippi for several hours. It's a great, great, great way to start the cruise. Dawn will be continuing out of Tampa. The Encore, she's going to be doing a combination of Panama Canals as well as regular 7-day cruises out of Miami. Norwegian Epic, she is our ship that in the wintertime is based out of San Juan. And in the summertime, she'll be doing a combination of European itineraries, including some out of Southampton. The Escape is going to be continuing primarily out of Port Canaveral, so great opportunity to combine with Disney. The Gem is probably one of my favorite of our mid-sized ships. The Gem and the Pearl are probably my two favorite. So she's going to be going out of Barcelona. Love the itinerary there. Really, really great. Because she is a mid-sized ship, we can get into some slightly different ports. And we'll be doing a combination of other things with her, including New York, Panama Canal, etc. Norwegian Getaway in and out of London. She's actually going to be doing cruises out of New York with one of the newest ships cruising to the Bahamas. Every single one of her departures out of New York features a stop in Great Stirrup Cay. Now, if any of you have been there recently, I had the opportunity, I was there just about a year ago, actually, when we launched the Encore. I hadn't been there for probably 5 or 6 years. The difference is absolutely amazing. Silver Cove, what we've done to that island, it is a destination in and of itself, and it actually between her and Harvest Key, between Great Stirrup Cay and Harvest Key, are 2 highest rated ports in the Caribbean. So it's a great, great, great experience for your customers. The Jewel, combination of, she's going to be primarily on the West Coast, as well doing Panama Canal, as well as in and out of doing Alaska. The Joy, as I mentioned, in combination with the Bliss, is primarily going to be out of Mexican Riviera, out of LA, as well as New York and Orlando. So she's going to be around the continent. And then we have the Pearl back in Boston. It's been a few years since she's been back in Boston, as well as doing some very, very unique 11-day Panamas. And then the Sky, of course, is our Miami short cruise ship. Now, whenever we have these new deployments, of course, you want to be able to communicate them with your clients. And so I would hope that all of you are familiar with Central, and in particular, our marketing headquarters. Our marketing headquarters is where we have all of this material. So not only do we have some great flyers that talks about sort of the summary of all of these different itineraries, we've actually got flyers that you can do by itinerary. So if, for example, you wanted to do a group that you're escorting, go to marketing headquarters, go to norwegiancentral.com. In marketing headquarters, you can actually pull a flyer specifically for the departure that you're looking for, and you can customize it. So you can put your own call to action, your own pricing, etc. It's a great opportunity. Takes 5 minutes to put a flyer together. It's really, really easy. And soon, so I believe later next month, we're actually going to be coming out with the summer 23 deployment. So yes, we're going to go all the way through to, I believe, October of 23 for the majority of our fleet. And we'll even be extending the Pride of America through into 2025. So we've got a lot of neat itineraries coming up for the summer of 23. Of course, we've got a tremendous number of our ships over in Europe. And I think given the fact that most of us missed our Europe vacation this year, the next few years, we're probably going to see an increase in demand for Europe. Now, of course, I've talked to you about, focusing on value. And this is what we do with our promotions. Notice all of our promotions, we don't typically put just a price point out there. What we advertise, what we market is increased value. So currently, and ending on the 4th, we have our fly free promotion. So in this case, it's the second best flies free, and that includes our standard free at sea offer, which is choose 2 free offers. So they can choose either open bar, specialty dining, excursions, Wi-Fi, or kids sail free on certain departures. Coming up, we're actually launching it tomorrow, is our prepaid gratuity offer. So again, we're not talking about just advertising a cruise for $9.99. We're adding in extra value. In this case, the value is the prepaid gratuities that are normally added. And then as we get into Black Friday, we're going to have a combination of our Black Friday sale, which is actually going to be a 30% off all ships, all destinations, and up to actually 5 free offers. So it's 4 as the standard, the open bar, specialty dining, excursions, and Wi-Fi, and then the kids sail free on select departures. So these are all things to talk about with your clients, not focused on price, focusing on all the extra things that they're getting. In terms of overall wave readiness, and I think all of us probably recognize that wave is going to be a little bit unusual this year. So wave, typically we look at wave as starting at Black Friday and ending at the end of March. So this year, again, it's going to be a little unusual, but we're all kind of wanting to get ready for it. So the first thing I would recommend you do, if you're not in here already, is go into Norwegian Central. And there's a couple, get familiar with it now, because quite frankly, now is when we've got some time to hone our skills and to work on some of our training. So first off, make sure you're into the Learn section. Go into NCLU, make sure you've done the courses. We've got a bunch of new courses. You want to look at promotion with marketing headquarters. You've got booking engine in here, and we've got our various connections in terms of Facebook webinars, etc. But first off with NCLU. Now, right now we've got over 30 electives in there. In total, there are over 40 classes. So if you haven't done the majority, it's a great way to get up to speed on everything Norwegian. The courses are essentially divided into about 4 types or 4 groups. So we've got things to do with ships, we've got destinations, we've got sort of specialties, things like wedding groups, stuff like that, and then we've got training and tools. With the training and tools, there's been a lot of additions there, including new programs like our health and safety and sail and sustain programs. So that is absolutely something you want to get familiar with very, very quickly. as much as possible. And by completing NCLU, you actually will earn certificate credits with CLIA. So make sure that you're doing those courses. You also get access to our private NCLU student union group, and we give you some icons that you can add to your signature, your email signature, to show your clients that you are up on everything to do with Norwegian. And finally, just in case, once you get to the highest level of NCLU, you personally will get 30% off of any cruise that you're looking for. And these are the icons that I mentioned, where you've got the different levels of achievement. So if you can actually get all the way to your PhD, you can add that to your signature at the bottom of your emails. Now, in terms of marketing headquarters, as I mentioned, this is the area where you can do customized flyers. So when you're doing the customized flyers, you can do the one specific to a group departure, but every time there's a promotion, we also add flyers and emails that you can send out to your clients. So again, very much focused around selling the value. But so we've got things like co-op ads, PDF flyers, HTML emails that you can put together. We also create banner ads, and we even give you some social posts, text as well as images that you can use if you want to do something nice and easy. And we've got all of our brochures in electronic form in there as well. It's pretty straightforward to use. Just go into marketing headquarters, and as you can see, you've got all of the marketing materials. It's just simply click around until you find what you're looking for. The one thing that we've added, which is actually something quite neat, is, and I'm going to walk you through this if it plays. Here we go. So essentially, this is the walkthrough of marketing headquarters. You click marketing materials, and you can have the drop-down boxes, click on the icons. It'll take you through, and here's an example. We've added taggable videos. So we've got all of these videos that you can actually take. What'll happen is you'll be asked to fill in some information. Here we go. So you fill in your agent name, your phone number, email, website, all of that information. And for each one of those videos, what it's going to do is it's going to create a screen at the very end of the video with all of your information on it. So the great thing with these videos is you can send them out, you can post them on social media. Obviously, you save it. Now, you can actually add your own logo, add your call to action, and so this will take a couple minutes for it to be delivered. You can email when it's ready, or you can just keep hitting hit status. And when you download it, again, there's about 6 videos, and we're adding more. You've actually now got a video on your computer. It's a standard MP4 format. And the nice thing is it's our regular Hawaii video. Give me 1 second, and I'll show you what that last screen looks like, because it's a very cool concept. See, so there you go. So now you've got all of your information on the end, so you can go ahead and send that out to clients. Yeah, nope, don't want to go through that again. All right. And then one of the last things I wanted to run through is it's a new enhancement within Norwegian Central. You can actually go, so we've had Cruise Next in there for a while. And Cruise Next are the certificate that your clients can purchase on board. We've also now added the FCCs. So for anybody who was on a suspended sailing that selected the FCCs for their for a cruise that was suspended, you can actually now go in here and download for all of your customers. If you are an agency owner manager and you're listed as the administrator within Norwegian Central, you can download it for your entire agency. Otherwise, you can download it for any that were booked under you. It's a great opportunity to give you, quite frankly, a starting point with your clients. great opportunity. Pick up the phone, give them a call, let them know, hey, I see, we've got these FCCs. Have you started to think about what your next vacation is going to be? These people have essentially got potentially thousands of dollars ready to spend. They are absolutely going to cruise with Norwegian again. You want to make sure that you get thinking about it. And that's what the report looks like. A very, very straightforward spreadsheet that lists all of your customers with all of the booking information. And then finally, and I love this picture. If you see on the left-hand side, the guy in the suit with the blonde hair, I'm immediately to his right. So in other words, they cut me out of the photo. Anyway, no bitterness on that one. Make sure that you connect with us on Partners First on Facebook. Whenever we've got announcements coming up, we always post it there, so you can always be in the know. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for me today. I guess we can open it up for questions. Anna, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. We do have some questions coming in. Our first one is from Veronica, who is wondering if you are planning to sail out of the Galveston or Houston areas.
That's a question that comes up quite a bit. We've certainly had ships there in the past. Once the Leonardo ships start coming out, I expect that we'll be able to look at other ports to be able to sail from. And I absolutely know that Houston or Galveston has been something that has been discussed. I don't know if there's any final decision on that, but we are always looking at that as an option.
Okay, great. And our next question from Doris. She is wondering if all promotions can be combined for the same sailing.
For the most part, typically when we do multiple promotions, we will have them as combinable. You can always go into in Norwegian Central. There's something called the Sales PAL, PAL, and in there lists all of our promotions, including the combinability. So most times they are combinable, but there are sometimes, like for example, right now we've got the air promotion. We just brought out the prepaid gratuities offer, but it actually came out sooner than we were originally planning. So those two, for example, are not combinable, but most other times they are. So if there's a Latitudes promotion and a Book 5 promotion, those are usually combinable. We try as much as possible to not make it overly complicated if we can.
Okay, fantastic. Our next question from Lori is, do you imagine there will be new physical brochures produced anytime soon?
Yeah, I did hear about something. We've got, just because of all of the changes, we're sort of waiting until the right time to go to print. We will be printing. We are committed to still having a physical brochure. I heard a couple weeks ago that they were imminent, but again, they might be slightly delayed just until, until we're sort of back to the water.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And we are getting a few questions about group policies, if you can speak to that, and if promotions that you mentioned are applicable with group policies as well.
Sure. So with Norwegian, we've essentially got two groups programs. We've got what we call spec space, and we've got affinity space. So spec space, that's really where you would go in, hold space to just kind of sell broadly. You're doing a brochure, you want to have a price that's fixed so you can promote to your clients, but the clients don't have any particular link to one another. You just need that fixed rate. So the spec space is, you can take that out. I believe it's up to 8 cabins with no deposit. You can hold that at any point in time. Our TC on that is 1 in 16, and there are it's sort of like a gap type point program for that. We also have, and probably for most of the travel partners on the line, our affinity program. And our affinity group program is essentially where people know each other. So whether it be a family group, a common interest group, a group that you're escorting, and so therefore you are the affinity. Our affinity program is actually quite rich. The TC currently is 1 for 10. And you get typically 4 of the free at sea amenities plus 1 bonus amenity. So it's a very, very, very rich program. There is a deposit requirement on that. 60 days after booking the affinity group, we require a $50 per cabin deposit. And in terms of combinability, I'd say a little bit of it depends. We're working to make it more combinable, but because with the affinity program, the whole idea there is that because everybody knows each other or is there for a common reason, we want to make sure that everybody sort of has similar amenities. So with the spec program, you can always do what's called FIT to include, which means you can book it in FIT and move it in. And it still counts towards your TC, etc. There's a few more restrictions with affinity, but we are working it, as I said, to limit that.
Okay, fantastic. Our next question is from Gabriel, who is wondering if you have bubble tours for small groups that travel together in shore excursions.
So, sorry, did you say bubble tours?
Yes, so I'm assuming just small groups that travel together, sort of or not segregated, but separated from others.
Sure. So there's kind of two different angles to that. One is, with the current environment, with COVID, et cetera, we are working on what will be our policies and programs for off of the ship. So I know we're all paying, attention to MSC and Cost and some of the others over in Europe and how they're managing it. And we are everybody is rooting for them, and they're doing a great job so far. I know that they've had where you've got to do required shore excursions. We are still working on our plans. So aside from COVID aside, we do have the ability of doing group shore excursions at all times. So we do have a shore excursion desk who can build either exclusive standard tours. So in other words, if it's something that we operate normally and you've got a certain size group, we can do a tour just for that group, or we can do fully customized tours as well. To get more details on that, just reach out to your sales manager, and they'd be able to send you all the information and links on that.
Okay, fantastic. And it looks like this will be our last question from Doris, who is wondering if agents get credit for future cruises purchased on board.
So our program on board is called Cruise Next, and what that essentially is that somebody who's on the ship, they can buy a future cruise credit that they can use towards anything, and they get an immediate onboard credit. We notify the booking agency that their clients have purchased this, and it will show up in that Cruise Next report that I mentioned in Norwegian Central. You get full commission and credit for when you rebook the clients using that Cruise Next certificate.
Okay, fantastic.
It's rare that somebody actually books on board. The rule is that we will rebook it under the original agency's profile unless requested otherwise.
Great. And those were all of our questions. So thank you everyone so much for joining us, and thank you, Derek, for all the wonderful information.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.